My friends, what is this mystical box? What about this microcamera? Who was supposed to drive this black car? What about these unusual blue missiles or something? Like, what are these things, as they surely were not in the GoldenEye 007 game I used to play? Today, with the power of GameShark or action replay codes and a wonderful EverDrive device, we're going to examine some of GoldenEye's forbidden and ultimately removed objects, which were seemingly placed there at some point in early development, left into the game's code, and can still be unlocked and messed around with only a few tweaks to the deep inner code of GoldenEye. There are lists upon lists of GameShark codes on old archived websites which can reveal dozens, maybe even hundreds of these objects. A lot of these will either replace the truck at the beginning of Dam with the remove object, which can have some unforeseen consequences, or will replace the item dropped by a guard on runway with a removed item, which are also very, very strange. Today, I've picked 10 remarkable objects for you all to see, so let's explore, and here we go.
Here we go.
So here's one I've never seen before that is amazing to see for the first time. It is what's called the Soviet boat. Now, it's believed this would be the boat docked way on the dams that would take you over to the Mystery Island here on Dam. And obviously this is, quite a far departure from what we see in the game in terms of entering vehicles. We only really go into the tank. How would it work? How would you dismount from this object? And that's eventually why it was cut, because these sorts of things just couldn't be figured out in due time. But there it is. There's the boat. It's still in the game's code, just like the Dam's secret island is still visible in the game. Look, the glass is solid, the, hull is solid. I mean, what a crazy, it's a cool little boat for all intents and purposes. A little, what do you even call these? A little dinghy, a little speedboat, whatever the case may be. You could rip around in the reservoir here in Arkhangelsk, and it would take you to the Damn secret island. And it's just so cool to, after all these years, just load it in here, take a look, and go, wow, it's truly amazing. Okay, here is a line of code that alters the item that a guard on runway will drop. This is unbelievable. Just watch the first one I get. We're gonna runway, any difficulty. Okay, watch this. So this guard here, you can see he's already walking strange with one hand on the weapon, which is unusual, and not shooting at you, which is unusual as well. Watch this. Pass them away. Picked up a micro camera. Well, if I pause and select the micro camera, what is it? It looks sort of like the covert modem, but kind of not. And I have one in my inventory. Let's throw it. It's some sort of plantable camera. Like, what in the world is this item, and how is it in GoldenEye? And why is it that I didn't know about this until the year 2025? 28 years after the game's release. Now, I was reading about this a bit more, and some speculate, some of the early, GoldenEye creators who made these websites speculate, look, it has a little antenna to, transfer data to, the Q branch, and there's recording. There's some speculation there was a cut level, especially around a casino, and you'd have to go in there and either pick up a micro camera or have one already and plant them around. Kind of like how Silo works with planting the plastiques, maybe. Maybe you have to plant one micro camera in each room. And yeah, at a glance, it just looks like the cover modem, but it's clearly a larger object. And, one suction cup for a wall, the lens, and an antenna to transfer data. And just like, it's just so shocking to see this in the game after all these years. Let's see what this one is. New weapon. Picked up a new weapon. Well, what is it? Polarized glasses. Like, what is this? How is this in the game with one line of code being altered? And like, what were the polarized glasses supposed to do? I've selected them. Nothing happens. They were never made to actually be used and worn or to that level. Maybe they were at some point. Like, polarized glasses. Like, what could this possibly be? And it's just so unbelievable to see this. Like, I'm holding an N64 controller. I'm playing on an N64. Yeah, it's an EverDrive, but I'm just using a version of GoldenEye, a copy of GoldenEye, and like polarized glasses have been in the game this whole time. You know, it makes me wonder, like, not that this stuff can be used, but like, is there a way to do it without a GameShark or an EverDrive or an Action Replay, and like do some sort of arbitrary code execution to get polarized glasses or Microcamera? Not that it would really do anything. So there's this other site called Beta GoldenEye that was live for, you know, a little bit of time back in the glory day, and it would sort of recount the stages and what might have been removed or replaced, and then often give GameShark cheats onto how to get it back. So in this one, I've used the GameShark cheat to turn all the enemies on Frigate into the helicopter pilot, who we do not really see in usual gameplay. So that's interesting. And then on this site, it talks about how it believes there were consoles in this room. Now, these consoles are not actually here in a normal mode of play on Frigate. I used lines of code to place them here, but it's pretty interesting to see these consoles in this area because, you know, as this Beta GoldenEye page brings up, this is sort of quite a large unused empty space. I mean, even this hook, like, look at this design that they put in this hook, this whole lift system here that never got used. And so the theory that Beta Gold brings up is that, like, could this have been a room where you would face off with Xenia, maybe get a cutscene and watch the pirate fly away, and maybe that'd be after you planted the tracker bug, hopefully, on it. You know, that thematically makes sense with the objectives and what's known in the game, but these sort of mid-level cutscenes never ended up happening in GoldenEye, and so maybe that's part of why it was removed. But there's another really bizarre thing that was added in, and I'll show you here. Just one line of code. There's a room with a bunch of radios over here, and literally one line of code can alter one of the sets of radios to be these blue objects. Like, what are these? The site Beta Gold describes them as like rockets, maybe? But it almost looks like some kind of like float or life preserver? I just really don't know. By the way, that map on the right, this is kind of unrelated, but according to Ben Coakley, this map is a portion of a 1959 USGS map of Benicia, California, and it can be found. It's an official public domain map. Let me know if you would love to see me do a texture matching GoldenEye video. That would be pretty cool to do someday. But yeah, this blue object, I mean, what is it? It's gotta blow up, right? What do you think? If I shoot a 5... Okay, it blew up massively. That's quite something, and hey, we can get better views of these textures, you know, outside of the scope of this video, but this one's clearly the Arabian Peninsula in Africa, and these two, I'd have to look a bit longer and match them to figure out where they are, but hey, that's cool. And then one thing I did notice following this Beta Gold guy's strategy was that the consoles that ended up in the other room, well, they came from here. You know, there's usually consoles here. This bomb is usually sitting on top of consoles. Oh, okay, that was unexpected. But I guess this fella did it. But hey, I mean, it's pretty interesting that, you know, I'm just starting out getting used to playing around with the code of the game and moving objects and replacing objects. But it's pretty remarkable to see what you can do just with lines of code on a GameShark or EverDrive in this, you know, nearly 30-year-old video game. So here's one of the most unusual ones, and you can even see, like, the screens in this cutscene in the sky are messed up. And, well, there's you go. Believe me, this is just one of the most unusual ones. The way the object moves almost looks like it's tied into the camera, and like you could almost see it clip into Bond's hair for a moment. If we come out here and then come back here, we can see indeed the select file. You know, like one of the game's files is just out in the open. And it's like, what? Like, I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh. It's the most ridiculous thing you can possibly imagine. Now, it doesn't have any text on it, like saying, you know, 007 if you beat a whole file, 100%, or even your current level that you're on. But it's certainly interesting, and as I approach it, it comes close to me. So it's, I'm taking shots kind of through it. I do have walk-through objects on here, but at some point I can get through, and I'm in the middle of it. I'm literally in the middle of this file, which is, like, so ridiculous. Like, what? Probably this is the most shocking thing that you see when messing around with these objects, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, for one, you'll notice my ammo and my aim and all that are messed up in a way very similar to, there's this glitch on Surface 1, where if you have infinitely spawning guards who are lured by pressing the alarm, you get similar effects on your ammo and your aimer. And, like, you can see the shots at some point, like, okay, that hit it. That hit, like, the edge of the file. These ones are hitting the wall. But at some point over here, you can see they're just ending in space. So I wonder if that's sort of the real position, the true position of the file. And it just visually gets really messed up because this one is so weird. Like, what on earth? We can see that gap in the hill that gets formed when you're messing around here. You know, the file's filling up. This one is just shocking. Probably the most shocking and stunning forbidden object in the whole game that we can access using GameShark codes. Like, just wow. It's just so surreal because you kind of compartmentalize the files and stuff as being, like, external to the actual gameplay. Like, you would never think to pick this up. It's like the menu. And yet we've embedded a piece of the menu into the game, and that's just unbelievably shocking. Well, here we are on the wonderful dam stage, and my goodness, we're going to see some object that's very unusual. Now, you can maybe see it off in the corner there. It's replaced the truck. We're going to have a deep look because this is probably the craziest of these objects that I can see on, well, in the game. And it's none other than this strange mystery box, cube, crate, tesseract. I mean, what on earth is this object? Now, it's solid. I can strafe into it. If we pay some very close attention to the shots here, it sounds like a metal object, you know, a metal crate of some kind. And just like, what is it? What in the world can it be? It's very solid, you know, sharp edges. Basically a crate. Now, a couple things about this object, and we're going to kind of dive on this and get into it later, but it's not actually supposed to be this big. I mean, well, maybe it is. We don't really have a clear idea on how big it's supposed to be or what it's for. Now, this object, like many others, if we replace the damn truck with it, causes a huge break in the damn wall here. which is also very unusual, and I do not know what causes that either. It's a big object, blue, some yellow, goldish stuff on the side. I've seen some people suggest, like, oh, it's from Perfect Dark. And certainly Perfect Dark does have, like, futuristic hologram, objects. But GoldenEye was released in 1997, and Perfect Dark was released in 2000. Like, could there really have been a beta object, secret crate, that they just, like, made in GoldenEye and, like, held onto until Perfect Dark? I really doubt that. And I think the reason that you see some commentary on these online websites, which you find in the Wayback Machine, suggesting that it's from Perfect Dark, is just what you would call recency bias, in that the game Perfect Dark had just come out, in 2000, websites, this sort of stuff, online discussion, a lot of it around GoldenEye happened around that time too, 2000, 2001, 2002, because in 97 and earlier, like, the internet was still so in its infancy, the World Wide Web and whatnot. And so I think a lot of these speculators suggesting this is from Perfect Dark are just kind of thinking through that lens. But, almost 30 years later, like, what is this? And I don't know if it's ever been explained. Hey, maybe one of the devs online on social media can give us some insight into what this is. It's very odd. I'm gonna fool around with a couple more settings to get even a different look at this. Okay, so here we are with the code page, and these two lines that I'm dancing back and forth between are the ones that decide exactly which object will be shown. Playing around with these will give us different objects later in this video. But this one here is a size modifier on this object, whatever the object that the damn truck gets replaced with is. So if I turn this off and then go into the level, we'll kind of see possibly the true or intended size of that cube. And, well, we can see it's quite a bit smaller. Now in this case, it almost looks like something you could, like, pick up and carry, or, I mean, it's a little bit too big for an object that you pick up in this game, but it certainly adds to the mystery of, like, what is this supposed to be? I mean, the most realistic guess is that it's just supposed to be some kind of placeholder object with no purpose. It's sort of a default object, and there are a lot of kind of twists in that code that will make it appear. If you put in various numbers at certain points in the code, this appears instead of other things that we'll see later. And that sort of maybe indicates that it's just a placeholder object, and there's nothing more to it than that. But the patterning on it, the texture, it's a lot of work and, frankly, beauty in that retro game way for just a placeholder object. We're going to look at it in a couple more interesting ways a little bit later on. Alright, I put a size modifier on this next one to get us a better view at it. And I honestly am not quite sure where it's from. It might come to me in a second, but it is a giant cassette tape. Like, is this a collectible object on a level? And am I forgetting where it's from? Because, like, what a surreal thing to find. I don't think it is. There are other objects. We can load in, like, the DAT, which you pick up on Silo or Aztec. We can load that in. We can load up circuitry. We can load up the GoldenEye VHS that you pick up on Bunker 2. But, like, this item, I don't believe it's in the game. And so, like, was it removed? Well, I mean, clearly it was, if only a few lines of code can reactivate it. Like, what's going on here? And yeah, I use the size modifier to turn up to size 7 to make it quite larger, but it looks like I can cross right over it despite the size. Some of the objects are solid. I can't pick it up, unfortunately. That'd be cool. One of the more forbidden and removed objects in GoldenEye. Now look, if we're going to replace the truck, let's replace the truck. We can see over here, there are a couple of vehicles which you can get to move. And one of the vehicles we can replace the classic green truck with is this red semi, a red lorry of some kind that will follow the same path through the stage. And it's just kind of surreal to see. You know, I've done a video a long time ago where I was able to replace the truck with a Jeep, and that was cool and crazy unto its own right. But now replacing with this red semi is just so unusual. And there's like a number of objects that you can load in, various cars, but not all of them will roll like this or follow the path, even though they could and maybe should. But this red semi does indeed follow the path and will go all the way to the end of exactly where you would expect it to on the dam. And there's one more car we're going to look at that does it too. You know, look how the wheels are like broken, like one of the sort of sections isn't fully properly rendered. So you can see how like not perfectly made this vehicle is. Now, I'm pretty sure it's from Depot, and so that broken section of tire might be where it sits on the ground, and so you wouldn't conventionally see it. They didn't need to render in that bit of tire, which is kind of funny. But hey, look at this beautiful red truck rolling by. Who wouldn't want a beautiful red truck to haul some whatever you're hauling, you know? And the Soviets in the 90s, when this game is set, I guess, are certainly some of those people who could use this. So here we go. If I shoot that area, totally, like it's supposed to be rendered, but it's not. That depot explanation is my best guess. And yeah, instead of it being the classic green truck, we now have a red semi. You can see there the glass is unfinished. You know, certainly it's hitting something, but there's no render or shot, whereas on the side of the door there is. Even pass through there, so really kind of a half-finished object, but it's cool to see here in the flesh. Well, here's another crazy rolling vehicle, as we can see. And it is a large black sedan. It actually comes out pretty small. I had to like adjust the size a couple notches up to make it reasonable size. But it's some sort of large black sedan. It even has a fully readable license plate, which is pretty crazy. And like, what is this? And it's actually believed that this was supposed to be Uramov's car on Streets after Archives, where he sort of gets away with Natalia, and then you have to pursue him through Streets, through Depot, onto Train. And even the wording of the objective on Streets, I believe it's like pursue Ormov, certainly, you know, communicates that maybe the Streets was originally intended to be more of a direct pursuit of you chasing Ormov with a tank, which would be unbelievable, frankly. Like one of the most crazy sequences well before its time in GoldenEye 007. But it's a really cool car. It's much cooler, much sort of more detailed and sharp than, say, you know, the white or orange ones you run over on Streets. I mean, look at him moving through there. He's so cool. Like, what a cool car. You know, wouldn't you want to be driving this sedan through the streets of St. Petersburg? The shots are impacting, so it's actually kind of more finished than that red semi-truck, perhaps. Even though I believe the red semi-truck is on Depot, but this guy's not in the game at all. And it's just like, wow, it's just so shocking to see. Look at him turn there, pull up and park. And you know, it's always kind of been a mystery who's driving, and like, you know, be at the door does nothing, shooting does nothing. No one's driving the vehicle. It's assigned to follow a path. But for 1997, that's pretty darn cool. And like, I just think this is one of the coolest objects in the entire game that was removed, but thankfully can be replaced here with just a few changes to some lines of code, and like that is pretty darn cool. Well, you can see it there. Pretty interesting view. What could this be? It looks strange from afar, but as we get closer, it is none other than some sort of armored car. I mean, look at this vehicle. Like, again, it's surreal to believe that this is actually in GoldenEye 007. All I did was change a few lines of code. It's not like I made this in, you know, Blender or Unreal Engine and uploaded it myself. This was in the game. There was a time when this vehicle could have made it in the game. And I was like, is it an early proto tank? Maybe? You know, I guess the tank scene is famous on streets. And where else would this make sense but like to pursue Ormalv on streets? So I doubt that that's what it would have been for. You know, and this is where people would speculate in the past about like forgotten missions or something. Like, where would an armored personnel carrier vehicle like this be used in GoldenEye? And I don't really have a good answer for it. Now, this one, unfortunately, if I alter the code to try to make it roll, it just crashes the game. Like, it won't even load the damn up. So we can't get this to roll. We can see its tires are like very poorly finished, right? Like, its tires are sort of rendered from behind, but not at the side. And so obviously it wasn't finished enough to the point where it can move and roll, which is presumably why it crashes the game when you try to make it roll. But like, nonetheless, it's still such an insane and surreal thing to see. Like, you know, is that not one of the most truly remarkable things you've ever seen with your own two eyes? I would say it's up there, you know. So we looked at that object at size 4. Let's edit the code, make it size 9, enable it, making it quite significantly larger, and take another look. Even here in the cutscene, you can see just how much bigger it is. It's almost getting comically large. Believe me, we can make it even more comically large, but let's take a quick gander over here. I mean, look, now it's just way larger than you or guards. Again, you can still strafe into it. You can get a very good look at it. And it doesn't seem to affect, like, the size of the crack here. Doesn't seem to affect really anything else other than it being solid. It's a solidly rendered object. I'm strafing into it, and it's just a lot larger. And we can do that with many of the other objects we're going to study coming up. Now here's the size modifier code again. Let's make it like comically large. You can really go up to size 99, I believe. Let's do like 39. That's going to be huge. And we might get into some trouble here. So I might need to put on this code walk through doors, which really allows us to walk through doors and objects. Well, there you go. We've seen it in various sizes, even the camera pans right through it, and now it is truly comically large. Now the thing is, if I didn't have walk-through doors on, you know, I'd be strafing into it, I'd be kind of stuck. But because I did turn that GameShark code on, we can just walk right through it, and now we're in it. And you can't see the interior of it. Probably no interior was ever made. I mean, why would there be? It was a small object. But we can move around sort of inside and come out on another surface, another face of it. Wow, you can even see it clipping into that damn wall there, which is really crazy. That's kind of the first I've seen of any object clipping through there, and I've played around with this stuff a lot, so I'm pretty impressed. Believe me, this gets way, way weirder. If you want to see it in size 99, it might crash the game, but stick around to the very end of this video and I'll do a size 99 mystery box for you. So there's size 99. There's size 99. It's clipping even through the damn tower. We might even still be in it over here. Yeah, so we're in it. Right now we're in it, and there's no getting through it without walk-through doors. I wonder if the game would crash if I didn't have that on. If we pop out somewhere over here. Okay, here it is. And it's as tall as a Manhattan skyscraper. It's clipping through the damn tower. Wow. I mean, I guess a question I have is, will it emerge on the other side of this damn tunnel? And I've never seen such a thing do that. I've tested with a fair few objects. And, no, it looks like it doesn't make it all the way over here, which is unfortunate. You know, there's hundreds of objects that we can unlock or replace the damn truck with. I wonder if any of them reach over there. I haven't found any of them that do it yet. But, there we go. There's the mystical orb. It's huge. Size 99 orb. Can't even see anything else on it. Now that's crazy. So with size 99, with this cutscene, you can't even see it because it's so large. We're inside of it. I've turned off walk-through doors and walls. My expectation is that when I get to the edge surface of it, I just won't be able to move or progress at all any further through the stage. So, like, check this out. I'm strafing, strafing, strafing. And now I just hit the wall. I hit the surface. My shots are hitting the inside of the surface. And, yeah, there's just... Oh, I can't even get the stairs fully. Because, like, the edge, you know, how we saw it clip through. So, there you go. There's the box at size 99. Wow. What a strange thing to behold. So, there were a number of removed and forbidden objects in GoldenEye 007. When I recorded this, the raw recording ended up being almost 2 hours long, so there were lots of cut objects. I might post those deep cuts on Patreon someday, so check that out if you'd like, and thanks to the patrons for supporting the channel. Thank you all for watching, stay true my friends, and I will see you all in the next stream, video, or fireside.